Welcome back to new session. This is continuation of stakeholder management knowledge area. In this session, we will study planned stakeholder engagement process. Remember, this knowledge area, stakeholder identification process comes first, followed by planning process. Reason is very simple. You can't plan how to deal with the stakeholder unless you know who are the stakeholder. The learning objectives of this session are process definition, we'll talk about input, tools, techniques and output, stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, prioritization and ranking, stakeholder management plan, and we'll do a quick review. A quick look at 4 processes under project stakeholder management knowledge area. We have identified stakeholder process under initiating process group. We already studied this process in the previous session. Under planning process group, we have planned stakeholder engagement process, which we will learn in this session. Further, we have managed stakeholder engagement under execution process group and monitor stakeholder engagement under monitoring and controlling process group. Once you know your stakeholder, you need to plan how to get them on board, engage and manage them throughout the project. To develop this plan, you need to analyze stakeholder needs and wants, prioritize stakeholder based upon their power, influence, impact, develop engagement strategies, develop management strategies, and finally, develop a plan for engaging and managing these stakeholders. Let's look at the definition of planned stakeholder engagement process. It is a process of developing appropriate management strategies to effectively engage the stakeholder throughout project lifecycle based on analysis of their needs, interest, and impact on project success. The key benefit of this process is it provides an actionable plan to interact effectively with stakeholders. Let's look at ITTO for planned stakeholder engagement process. Inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. So inputs are project charter, project management plan, project documents, agreements, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. Project charter. Remember, this is a planning process and first time you might have only project charter as approved document from initiating process group. Project charter will give you the project purpose, objectives, and success criteria. This can be used in planning how to engage stakeholders. Agreements. When planning for engagement of contractors and suppliers, a lot of coordination required with organizations' procurement and contracting department to ensure contractors and suppliers are effectively managed. The details found in contract like name of client organization, vendor organization, contract signatories, reporting requirement, etc. This will provide input to develop stakeholder engagement plan. Project management plan. Here are some of the components of overall project management plan that can be used as input for this process. So first one is resource management plan. Resource management plan may contain information regarding roles and responsibilities of the team and other stakeholders listed in the stakeholder register. From communication management plan, communication strategies for stakeholder management and their implementation plans are input to create stakeholder engagement plan. Risk management plan may contain risk thresholds or risk attitudes that can assist in the selection of optimal stakeholder engagement strategy. Project documents. Stakeholder register, which is key output of identify stakeholder process we learned in the previous session. Register will have list of stakeholder along with their assessment and classification information. This will help in creating stakeholder engagement plan. Change log. Changes to the original scope of the project are usually linked to specific stakeholder who are requesting those changes or who are involved in the decision about change request. Issue log. Resolving issues contained in the issue log will require additional communication with the affected stakeholders. Risk register. It contains identified risk of the project and links them to specific stakeholder either as a risk owners or as a subject to impact from that risk. Assumption log contains information about assumptions and constraints that may be linked to a specific stakeholder. Project schedule contains activities that may be linked to specific stakeholder as owners or executors. Enterprise environmental factors. This may contain organization structure, personal administration policies, stakeholder risk appetite. Organization process assets. They can be corporate policies, procedures, organizational communication requirements. Tools and techniques. As with other planning processes, there are generic tools and techniques that are used in practically all knowledge areas, such as expert judgment, decision making, and meetings. You talk to people who know about your knowledge area, you get together with your project team in the meetings, and you make decisions about what goes into the management plan. There are some techniques which are specific to this particular knowledge area. The most important is the Stakeholder Engagement Assessment Matrix, which together with the Stakeholder Register will be workhorse of not just this process, but all other processes in this knowledge area. So tools and techniques are expert judgment, meeting, data gathering, data analysis, decision making, and finally data representation technique. Let's start with expert judgment. To plan stakeholder engagement, you need to have insight about politics and power structure in and outside the organization, environment and culture of the organization and outside the organization. Expert may help in deciding which analytical and assessment technique to be used for stakeholder assessment process. Knowledge from previous project about characteristics of stakeholders. Expertise might come from senior management, project sponsor, project manager of similar project, industry experts, SMEs. Data gathering techniques. Benchmarking is a data gathering technique which compares the result of stakeholder analysis with the other tools and technique for this process and compare them with information from other organizations. Data analysis. Assumptions and constraint analysis. Analysis of current assumptions and constraints may be conducted in order to tailor appropriate engagement strategies. Root cause analysis. It identifies underlying reasons for the current level of support of a project stakeholder in order to select the appropriate strategy to implement their level of engagement. Decision making. Prioritization and ranking of stakeholder requirement is important, as is the ranking of stakeholders themselves. Those stakeholders with the most interest, those impacted by the project, and highest influence, those who can impact the project, are often prioritized at the top of the list. Prioritization and ranking of stakeholder is useful to ensure PM can focus on top-ranked stakeholders. Data representation. Mind mapping. It visually organizes information about the stakeholders, their relationship to the project, to each other, and to the organization doing the project. Stakeholder Engagement Assessment Matrix. This supports comparison between the current engagement level of stakeholders and the desired engagement level required for successful project delivery. Based upon this assessment, project manager will develop strategies to meet the desired level. As you can see in the diagram, there are 5 engagement levels shown on the Stakeholder Engagement Assessment Matrix. Let's learn them one by one. Unaware. Stakeholder is unaware of a project and potential impact. Resistant. Stakeholder is aware of a project and the potential impact and resistant to change. Neutral. Stakeholder is aware of a project but neither supportive nor unsupportive. Supportive. Stakeholder is aware of the project and potential impact and supportive of the work. Leading. Stakeholder is aware of the project and potential impact and actively engaged in ensuring the project is success. These are the best stakeholder. Leading is the best stakeholder you can have on your project. On the matrix, C represent current level and D represent desired engagement level. Project manager will document a plan to change engagement level from the current engagement to desired engagement level. The only output of this process is stakeholder engagement plan. So what is stakeholder engagement plan? Stakeholder engagement plan contains the management strategies to effectively engage the stakeholder. It also contains desired and current engagement level of key stakeholder. This was based upon stakeholder engagement assessment matrix. How to reduce the resistance and maximize support. It also identifies and documents interrelationship and potential overlap between various stakeholders. It also contains communication requirements like what information, when, what time it should be shared, what frequency and format it should be shared. Method of updating and refining stakeholder engagement plan as we go through the project execution. As new stakeholders are identified, yes, some stakeholders' expectations are modified. So this is all about planned stakeholder engagement process in which we learn about creating stakeholder engagement plan. Let's do the quick review. We started with the process definition. So this is the process of developing appropriate management strategies to effectively engage stakeholders throughout the project lifecycle based on analysis of their needs, interest, impact on the project success. We learned about input tool techniques, outputs. We talked about some of the tools like stakeholder engagement assessment matrix, stakeholder engagement levels, and finally, we talked about stakeholder management plan. Good job. We are getting closer to the finish line. See you in next session. That's a manage stakeholder engagement. Thank you.